to By His Grace podcast. Not worthy, but worth it. And I am so excited to be on the podcast tonight because I have me a very special my pastor, Bishop R.C. Bates is here as a special guest. Thank you, Bishop, for Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. The devil must be mad, but we got the victory.
Yes, we do. So I just want to thank you for being my special guest on the podcast. And we thank God for all that's going to transpire. And I know that most people know who you are, but I just want to formally introduce you. You are a husband, a father, bishop, and pastor of New Home Ministries. You are overseer of the Family of Churches Fellowship and author of so many books, but
Oh
you
my.
are known all over for the father daughter talk, queenology, and you have branched into kingology and so many others.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
founder of kingdom movements such as Sisters Winning in Ministry, the Mordecai Mission, the
Oh my.
Royals Marriage Ministry, and the Young Kings. You are doing so many great things. And I thank God for just being under your leadership. And thank you again for being on the podcast.
Well, it is my honor. I was feeling some kind of way because I hadn't been on and everybody else has been on. And so I was like, well, I don't know, maybe my little message is not, it ain't popping enough or something. That's what I
Now
was
you know
thinking.
that you know that is not true. I was waiting on an opportunity to bring you because I know your schedule is so busy and you and Lady Lisa are all over the world doing great things. So I was just waiting on the perfect opportunity. And we know that God says that the time is now.
Yes, it is. And I'm so proud of you. I have to say that. I was just trying to share this on the thing. That's why I'm looking down. But I'm so proud of you, the growth, the maturation, the commitment to the call. The thing I've noticed about you from day one, you've been committed to the same thing that you told me God had assigned to your hands. And I've watched how you've just intentionally gone deeper and deeper and deeper into the thing God assigned to your hands in the same direction. And you're just applying the spirit of excellence to it. And I'm looking at how your voice is spread across the city and the nation, and how you're just cutting out your own niche in a world that's polluted with a lot of different messages and voices. But the consistency, the authenticity, the preparedness, I'm just so proud of you. I have to be honest with
Thank
you.
you.
You're the epitome of a woman of God. And I say
Thank
that,
you.
I don't say that a lot. You are the epitome of a woman of God.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I remember when you spoke into my life and you said that the ministry God gave me was going to impact women all over.
And
And
I'm
at the
looking,
time, I didn't see it. I didn't see it because you have that humble beginning.
correct. I saw it.
Yes. Well, thank
And
you so much for seeing it.
absolutely. Now the world gets a chance to see it.
Yes. Yes, Lord. And I am here for it. I
I
am
already
here
know that.
for it.
I
Yes. Thank
already
you
know
so
that.
much. And it is always good when you have pastor and a leader such as yourself that can speak life into people who are under you, because
Wow.
some ministers and pastors, they want to keep the people beneath them.
Yeah.
You are a and you want to see everyone reach their God-given potential, and life was all the time, and I thank you for that.
Well, I think I really believe that we make a mistake when we assume that we are pastoring followers. We are pastoring
Right.
leaders, and we have to prepare and encourage and inspire leadership. And that's what I see when I see. I don't mean to change the subject tonight, but I'm just excited.
Oh no, that's what this podcast is all about. We're not here to just box, and you basically you share your story all over the world. A topic that will speak to who you are. People don't get when you give the weight of the mantle, and
Mm,
so powerful because people see the teachers and the preachers and the pastors, and they see you operating in the call, but they don't really understand the weight of that mantle that you carry. So and tonight we're gonna take the part that people don't actually.
amen.
It's when the mic is off. It's when you have to be whom God said you, even when you don't think you have it. We're going to be talking about tonight, what weight of the mantle. And I always sit in awe when God gives me a topic, because it's just profound when you get the revelation of the
Wow.
topic.
Well, when you think about,
Yes.
um, and I'm not going to be long with this, but when you think about a mantle is a responsibility that transcends time. It's a weight, it's a responsibility that's transgenerational. You know, like New Home
Yes.
Ministries, for instance, started off as New Home Missionary Baptist Church, 1918. And I'm trying to get all of the exact history, but I think there were like 4 or 5 pastors before my father, right? My father succeeded his pastor, Dr. F.H. Dunn, once pastored New Home Missionary Baptist Church. My father succeeded his pastor. And now my brother and I succeed my father. Well, that mantle goes all the way back to 1918. And the dreams, the vision, the hopes, the prayers of that generation, all of that sits on this generation. The anointing, the giftings, the callings, all of that is in that mantle. And not only is the mantle, not only are you responsible for holding up what has been entrusted to you from the previous generations, the biggest weight of the mantle is that now you have to prepare it to fit the shoulders of the next generation. That's the biggest challenge.
Right.
The first challenge was to
Right.
learn how to function under the weight of 100 years of history. The greater weight of the mantle is now, how do I fine tune this mantle for the oncoming generation? How do I fix it where Elisha can take what Elijah has carried? Joshua can take what Moses has started. That's where we are now, where the
Right.
mantle is now transfer. I ain't gonna go no deeper than that.
Yes. And you think of that, you actually of that had to come up with you are junior and you are under the prophet, but when did you discover your voice? When you grabbed the mantle and you said, "Yes, Lord, yes." How did you develop your speaking voice?
Um, the best way I can answer that is I discovered my voice when parenting, parroting other people's voices was not working. I was a parrot for a long time and it was ineffective. I was not empowered and I was not endorsed to use anybody else's voice. And it was one day my father pulled me aside and he said, "Son, you're trying to do this, you're trying to be this, you're trying to be that." He says, "But this is who you are." He told me who I was before I realized it. And he said, "What you need to do," he said, "number one, you're a teacher." He says, "Don't worry about the excitement and trying to be like, your brother or me or anybody else that you might see. You're a teacher." And he says, "The world doesn't need another this or that. The world needs you." And so once I settled into that, and I really sought God for my purpose, my mission, my message,
Mhm,
though at the time it was not a popular approach in the 80s, 90s in New Orleans. It wasn't popular to be a black preacher talking about teaching, no hooping and hollering and no singing of the song. You better get on out of here. But once I found my voice, I also found my tribe. And the church just started growing with people who were itching for a teacher because we had preachers all over the city, but we didn't have a lot of teachers. When I found my voice, I found my tribe. When I found my tribe, I found my flow. And so, yeah, I found it by realizing being a copy of others just wasn't working. And I was not authentic. I felt like a hypocrite because I was
mhm.
acting.
Right.
Only way you can sound like me, Tanshell, Elder Tanshell, to be official, use the church stuff. Only way you can sound like me
Gotcha.
is to be an actor.
Right.
The only way I can sound like my brother or my father or Bishop Jakes is to act like them. The only voice that is authentically me is R.C. Blake's. When I found that, that flows naturally. And so yeah, that's the long answer to that. I'm not gonna be long like that all night.
No, that's okay because that's what young pastors hear. Because with all of this social media ministry we see and using all of these props and they're doing so much, they're actually acting and performing. And
They're
what
performing.
happens when you take that garment off and you're no longer in that role? Yeah, are you able to sustain that lifestyle? And they're being exposed in this season because God is calling us back to the kingdom. He's calling us back
Amen.
to kingdom principles and he's getting rid of all of that. That's why we're having so much exposure in the church
Absolutely.
because he's
Yeah,
seeking kingdom people.
yeah, and if kingdom is nothing else, it's authentic.
Yes.
If you say you're functioning in the kingdom of God, it means that you are functioning in your authentic role because that's what the kingdom is. It is the body of believers functioning in their specific, divinely ordered administration. Many different kinds of administrations. You got to find your voice and you got to use your voice. Now, your voice may not be your ambition.
Mhm.
My ambition was to be an amazing preacher that could just turn the house upside down and set everything on fire, set everything ablaze. That was my ambition, but that was not my voice. That was not God's assignment. And so I had to integrate, I had to rather align um, God's assignment, my voice with my actions and put the acting away. Just be you 24/7.
Right. And that's one of the things that I ladies who sit under my teachings. I let them know that everything that God needs from us, He has placed in us. And we have to begin to allow the spirit to grow. And God is going to attach who you are to where
Mm.
He wants you to go. He's not coming in to do a complete change of who you are because He wants to use, that's why He calls us, because He sees something in us that He needs. And I tell them, don't beat yourself up trying to be like someone else because God needs you. He's not going to take it all away.
No, he's not. Your opportunities are attached to your authenticity. Your
Yes.
authenticity is expressed through your voice.
Yes.
And until you find your voice and are comfortable and settle into who God made you to be, you will always elude your destiny, um, opportunities, or connections. You'll always miss your connections. When you find your voice, everything else will just naturally unpack and unfold for you.
Exactly. And it will feel freeing because you're not pretending. You'll be able to walk in it and just unapologetically do what God told you to do. It'll be
Amen.
easier. You want and allow God to use you as He sees. So that's what we definitely have to
You
do.
absolutely, absolutely. But that's the long answer to that question.
Yes, but it's necessary because that's what we're here to do. We are here tonight to actually set the record straight, pretty much,
Amen.
because people see you operating, they see you on many platforms, and there are people who look up to you. They want to glean from you. They desire to do it like you're doing it. But we're here tonight to let them know that it's not you they should be seeking, they should be
Mm-mm.
seeking who they are in God,
Absolutely.
and then
Because
God could use them.
when you see me, you just see a man that has become comfortable with who he is, good, the bad, the ugly, the popular, the parts of me that are not. So, I don't care anything about that. You see a man that's just walking in his authenticity. That's what you see. And when you get to that place that you're comfortable in that, man, there's no limit on what God will do with you and through you.
Exactly. So how did you, once you got your voice and you realized who God says you were, how did you walk into the place where you were able to now be the pastor of the elders in the church who were so accustomed to your father's voice? And they see you as Lil RC,
Yeah.
the
Well,
babe.
actually, they see me as Bob.
They see you
That's what
as Bob.
they knew me as Bob. Everybody called me, if you ever hear anybody call me Bob or Bobby, that means they've known me from a child. Because as a child, I was known as Bobby. I was Bobby around the church. And so the elders, they know me as, you hear them call me Pastor Bob. Well, that's just them putting a
Right.
little respectful twist on it because they used to calling me Bob. So they call me Pastor
Mhm.
Bob. Some of them still call me Bobby. And I don't get offended because these people have been like mothers and fathers to me. So um, how did I gingerly made that transition. Gingerly, very, very gingerly, very respectfully. Um, I tried not to change too many things too quickly, generationally, especially after dad passed. I didn't want to change the church too quickly because the foundation of the church are our elders and seniors still to the day. They are the
Right.
foundation of our church. And just always respectfully, always handling them very carefully, handling them like mothers, handling them like fathers, never, you know, trying to lead with some strong arm, always leading them with respect because they are some of the most amazing people. Um, I am not my father, and I know that. I am who I am. They have grown, they came up under my dad, but they have given me the ultimate respect. And so I think it's just a mutual respect. They give me the respect of allowing me to grow and develop in ways that maybe they don't understand because of the generational thing. And I give them the respect of pacing myself in a way that they don't feel accosted or rushed out of
Right.
their traditions. And as you know, in our church, I like to consider our church a transgenerational church, multi-generational church. And it's because we try to intentionally hold on to some of the traditions. We try to hold on to some of the ways that the elders are accustomed to doing things, as well as incorporating the new for the young people. And now we're getting ready to, incorporate some things for all ethnicities to make our church even ethnically diverse, more diverse than it is. But that's the answer to that. I just respectfully lead them. I don't lead them like I would lead people my age or younger. That group, you sit down somewhere. But my elders, I take my time with them. I explain them, and I'm very patient with them. Which is
Know that they have not been forgotten.
correct. Which is the wisdom my father gave me. That whenever the time would come
Right.
that you should have to lead very slowly, very carefully, very respectfully, because these people are, in fact, spiritually mothers and fathers to you. So lead them like you would have to lead your mom and I. And so you see how I handle my mom. I try to handle our
Right.
elders the same way, very respect. They, Pastor, I don't like X, Y, Z. Well, I'll pull them to the side. Now, man, listen, come on now, pray for your son. All right, I'm gonna pray you on through. I still don't understand. And, young folk, I'd be like, go sit down somewhere, relax yourself. We good, but yeah,
Right. And they are very embracing. And you have some of them that are set, and you learn your
yeah,
members and you learn how to love them on their level.
correct.
And then there are some that actually they embrace the shift,
Absolute. Most of
and
them.
they are right there, and they're ready for whatever will come, and they're ready to do their part. So that's one of the great things about working at New Home, is that our elders are willing to accept the
They are.
assignments that have been given to others, and they're willing to work along with us. So that's a great thing, and a lot of churches don't have that. It's
No,
them and us.
correct.
And we don't really have that at our ministry, because we're able to work alongside our elders, and they're basically taking us under their wing
They
and
have.
respecting the assignments that we have been, because they realize they do the ministry and other things that they don't understand. But if we put it all together, and we become a mighty force,
Woo. Wow, because
and we do
they're
it
the
all the
they're the
time.
wisdom source.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're the wisdom source, and um, the younger people are the workforce. You know,
Yeah.
you have the warriors and you have the wisdom. They're the wisdom. The young folk are the warriors. So you put it all together.
Right. You go forth and do everything that God has purposed for us to do. So
Amen.
that is
We're gonna make
that
it.
is that is good, because there are a lot of people who are trying to build that type of ministry, and they don't really know how to mesh the two mesh together. It's you thing and none of the other. And then they're
Correct.
wondering why there's no growth in the church.
Correct.
The key is to make sure that there is inclusiveness
Amen.
when you're dealing with, the. So as you begin to work in ministry, and you found your voice, you're working with everyone, let the people know what it feels like as a pastor when you're giving of your heart to members, and then you endure times that we have endured here in our city. We with Trina, And that was, and we dealt with COVID. That was mass on another level. When you carry a
Yes.
mantle such as the one you carry, what is it like, Pastor, when you have to encourage people while you endure? What is it to be a pastor in that setting?
Well, I think being a pastor in through those times, well, all of the time, really, just the times you mention are just like really intensified moments in our history. But pastors have to absorb a lot of trauma, because our church, our churches, the members of our church are in our minds as much family as the people that we live with that are biologically connected to us. And so when you think in terms of that, you think about how many times a pastor has to go to a grave site, and a pastor has to go to a hospital bed, um, and a pastor has to listen to a doctor's report that says you're not going to make it. You know, a pastor has to hold a family's hand whose loved one just died. I guess I would liken it to a family member in the family being the person that everybody always leans on for strength. Because for a pastor, his church is his family. And so when you're leading through times like a Katrina, a young man asked me today, he said, "Why you have a Houston phone number?" Well, the reason I have a Houston phone number is because after Katrina, my 504 number was not working. I had to get a Houston phone number for people all over the country. They some kind of way they spread the news, and members all over the country have this phone number. So I've never gotten rid of it because we have members that are not just in New Orleans. We have members that are not just in Houston. They're all over the country. So I have a Houston phone number because I have sheep that are all over the country, and this is the only contact I have with them. It is it can amount to trauma that can lead to PTSD. It's a weight that people just don't really, 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 really get. It'll keep you up at night. You won't be able to sleep because you carry the feelings and the burdens and the issues of the people. And the problem is that um, while you're carrying these burdens, you don't have the capacity to fix all of these problems. See, now there are times that I run upon situations and I have the capacity to say, okay, well, come here, come get this. Pastor got this for you. But what do you do when 100 people got the same issue and people not tithing? You ain't got the church don't have the resources, and you don't have enough money in your pocket. That that doesn't even begin to describe the kind of weight that you carry when your people are facing things that you can't help them through, and it feels like you're going through it with them. Um, yeah, yeah. Like one of our members, I won't mention any names. She had to go to the courthouse recently. Her son was killed years ago, and so I guess the final sentencing thing or whatever happened recently, where the person that killed the son is now in jail. And I could tell when she was telling me about it, I knew she wanted me to go. Now she had a whole team of supporters, but I knew she wanted me to be there. And if you know me, and if anybody know me, courthouses, that's not my jam. That's not what I do. But I said, "You want me to go?" She said, "Yeah, I want you to come." I said, "Okay, Pastor gonna be there with you." And she said, Pastor, I know this is not your thing, but that's, that's I what what it feels like, but hopefully that capsulizes it, and hopefully somebody can understand a little bit. It's more trauma than a person can bear without the touch of God. I'll put it that way. This is why
Right.
you have so many pastors that commit suicide,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
And then you compound it with um, you have a lot of churches that want the pastor to always appear to be supernatural or act like he's God. We don't want pastors who show their humanity. I refuse to be that because I understand that that's a death sentence because
Right.
it is, yeah, hopefully I said something you could have got out of that, but yeah, that's a hard one to
Yeah. And
articulate.
that's what's necessary because even the ladies who sit under my voice, I am constantly called and pulled, and I have to be what they need in the moment. And sometimes it's accepted, and then there are times it's rejected because they want to always hear what gets them to the mountaintop. But
Correct.
sometimes you have to reach down and grab them out the
Correct.
valley, but you don't climb in the valley with them. And there
Correct.
are times when you do that, and a lot of people don't see that. They don't see the calls in the middle of the night. They don't see you answer the phone and there's a weeping and a crying person on the other line, and you have to be present in that moment. They don't see that. All they see is the mic, but
Mhm.
there's so much more to it
That's it.
that the weight of it, it gets heavy at
Hmm.
times.
Yeah.
It gets
The mic
heavy.
is the easy part.
Yes,
That's the easy part.
because you don't have
That's
you
really
just
that's
seeking God.
yeah. That's not even the
Mhm.
work. The mic is not even the work.
No. Mm-mm. That's the
The work happens
assignment.
when yeah, the work happens when the doors are closed, the lights are off, and ain't no crowd around. That's where
Right.
the real work happens.
Exactly. And I know even for me, I thank God that he uses me the way he does. And it is almost every day I am encouraging, I am empowering, I am talking someone off the ledge, I am speaking into someone's life. And while God has given me a women's ministry, I speak to a lot of my brothers. My
Correct.
friends reach out to me who are men because they respect my voice and they
Correct.
respect how God uses me. So it
Correct.
goes beyond the women's ministry,
Yeah. Just
and that can get heavy. That can get
yeah.
heavy at times,
Absolutely.
right? And I know that as leaders and voices for God, we have to be able to know when to use empathy and when to use sympathy. So explain how you separate the two.
Okay. Now, if I'm recalling right, empathy is when I actually feel what you're going through.
I understand where you
I
are,
understand.
and I could be with you.
Correct. Sympathy is when define sympathy for me according to your thoughts.
Sympathy is actually when I feel sorry for you. It's
Correct.
your thing, and I'm not actually in it with you. Empathy
Correct.
is I understand where you are because it could be me, but I'm not sorrowful. I have to take a different approach.
Correct. Well, there are a lot of occasions. Okay. Well, we have sheep that don't apply the word, and they get into situations that I told you, if you don't do this, it's going to lead to that. Well, I have sympathy for you, but I'm not disrupting my life, messing around with you while God is chastising you. I'm gonna have to take uh, the route that the prophet God told the prophet, "Don't come talk to me about Saul no more." And now he felt sorry for him, but God said, "Now you trying to be empathetic towards Saul. You trying to get in there with him, and if you keep on, I'm gonna jump on you too." There are a lot of occasions where I have to just feel sorry for you, but I got to let you linger out there till you learn your lessons. And I
Right.
ain't gonna give you no more money, and you're not gonna eat up any more of my time. I'll know when you've learned your lessons. But then there are members or there are people that I feel empathetic for, and God gives me the grace to be able to feel and get in there with them and help them walk through the thing. You know, there are some who have made a complete identity of being a victim, and
Right.
they will consume all of your time, all of your resources. They'll keep you tied up in a whole lot of negativity to the point you don't have any energy or focus to do anything forward moving or positive. You got to have sympathy for them, let them, let them learn their lesson. But then there's some that you have the empathy for, and you can legitimately get in there because getting in there with them helps them through. Some
Right.
people getting in there with them only stagnates you. It doesn't help them through, it stagnates you. I'm
Right.
rhyming like a rap up in here. You hear me? You hear my bars? It doesn't,
Yes.
it doesn't help them through. It only stagnates you. And it took me a
Right.
long time to learn the difference. It took me a long
Right.
time to learn the difference. I feel sorry for you. I really do, because I know that's hurting you, but that's your thing. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Right.
In the meantime, holla. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. And that's sort of like the image where you jump in to save someone who's drowning and they begin to drown you.
My
Because if
oldest daughter.
you
Go ahead, I'm listening. I
no,
was gonna
but
give
if
you
you don't, you would give me an example, but if you don't maintain who you are in those moments, that needy person will latch on to you and bring you down, and you can be suffering and they're
both
still
of them.
in need. They don't know when to let go.
Both are gonna die. They'll kill your
Both are gonna
marriage,
die.
they'll kill your finances, they'll kill the church, they'll kill everything. And then the thing about it is they'll destroy all of that and then walk away and leave you.
Exactly. Oh, I've experienced that a lot, Bishop. And what I have said is that I do not try to force people to
Mm-mm.
see who I've been to them already.
No.
If I've proven myself to you 20 times, 30 times, and then you allow a misunderstanding to get you to see me, I let you live in your truths. I don't try to
Yeah.
fight
Yeah.
for that.
And and don't have no nervous breakdown behind it. I
Exactly.
I have no problem with folk walking off and leaving me. I really don't. You know, my season is up. I don't have no whole lot of I don't have no questionnaire for you. I don't need to know what I did wrong, what we did wrong. What
Right.
can we change? No, because if if there were something that could legitimately be changed, you would have had a conversation long before it would have been my season is up. The
Right.
mere fact you wait to say my season is up means that it's just time for you to go. If there were some things that you weren't feeling good about or things that could have been rectified, we'd have had 4 or 5 conversations before it came to my season is up. That used to bother me. That don't bother me no more. That don't bother me no more. Can't nobody threaten me with I'm leaving. Okay. God bless you in your
See you
endeavor.
later.
See you
Right.
later. For
And
real.
what they really don't know is you've seen some of that even before they're spoken it,
I
because
already
God is
always
not
know.
gonna leave you. Right. God is
Always
not
know.
going to leave you in the blind, because when you have been assigned to someone's life, God will show you the shift
Always know.
and you will
And
be able to see it.
and I'm gonna let you go, and my heart is not gonna change towards you. Towards you, I'm gonna love you. Now I know who you
Exactly.
are, but I ain't gonna drag for you. Nobody's gonna hear from me that you did X, Y, Z. They ain't gonna know you left after you got my money or none of that. I ain't gonna say none of those things. I'm gonna
Mhm.
love you, and you know what? If you come back, I'm gonna love you like you never left.
Exactly.
That's the way
And
I
and
that's the
and
way
that's
I
exactly. That's what you have to do because there will be seasons of people. Everyone who starts out with you will not be with you to the end.
no, most of them are
And
not.
exactly. And one of the things that I learned is when I first was given the ministry, I said that people followed me because of who I was, because they knew me. But as you grow in God, there will be people who can't go to your next level with you. It
Correct.
doesn't mean that they don't love you any less. It just means that they are not purpose for where you're going. They had their purpose in your life. And
Correct.
now you're moving to a new season. So you
Correct.
embrace it.
You
And
embrace
that's
it,
what you have to do.
and it is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is. You go home and go to sleep, relax yourself. God is still God. He's still on the throne. Everything gonna be all right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you feel like people have just decided that I am going to reject you, it's okay for them to reject you. You just hope that they don't give up on God.
Correct. Correct.
And that's what they don't see.
Correct. And that's why I release people the way I do. I release people the way I do because I do not want to compound the lie that the enemy is obviously telling people, that some offense or whatever they might have is justified. Because if you say, well, I'm leaving, and then I come out a bag where I'm indignant, or I get petty and start dragging for you. Now you can say, well, see, that's why I left the church, because he said, or he. You'll never get that. You're gonna get, I love you, thank you for your time here, and just know I'll be praying for you. And you're gonna be listening. You're gonna have your ear to the ground, listening to hear what I said. You're gonna be watching all of my social media to hear if I'm inferring to you indirectly. You ain't gonna get none of that. Nobody's gonna tell
Right.
you pastor said XYZ about you, you gone. None of that. So I'm gonna let you sit in this situation. You're gonna have to really think this through, because I'm not gonna give you none of the energy that you need to justify this buffoonery that you carrying on. You're gonna have to
Right.
own it. I have no part in it.
Right. And that's what you have to do. Let them own their truths and
Yeah,
don't fight for it.
correct.
So with you being called to the nations and you are all over the world impacting lives, and so many people testify as to how your voice has spoken into their lives. What do you do to keep yourself humble? Because some people will get the big head and think it's about them.
What do I do to keep myself humble? Um,
Yes.
honestly, T, I think the way my dad raised my brother and I, there's no concept of um, arrogance or um, high mindedness, or whatever the word might be. There's no concept of it. I just don't get beside myself. I never feel entitled. I never feel better than anybody. I always feel awkward, even when people honor me. I feel awkward, to be set apart, and people like, oh, makes me feel weird. Um, but I think if a person does struggle with humility, if they have any measure of success, I think all a person has to do is just remember. See, if I ever struggle with, man, I feel my head swelling, all I got to do is remember Katrina, how I went to bed one night and I was sitting on top of a church that I had just gotten to a point where I had my staff, everybody was in place, everybody knew exactly. I haven't had that since, because I've not been able to be a pastor that could sit in one church 24/7. So you can't really develop a staff like that if you're moving around as much as I am. I went to bed with a staff. I went to bed with a church that was thriving. We had just built a new building. We were having multiple services. We were on national television, the Word Network. They were shipping my CDs and books all around the nation. I went to bed with that reality. I woke up the next day and all of that was gone. All you got to do is remember a pandemic when, death came through our church and wiped out a great percentage of our foundational members, those elders that we're talking about. A lot of them had to bury. So you can be way up here today and you can be way down there today, not tomorrow, today.
Right.
And so anybody that struggles with humility, I would just say, just remember, don't forget. If you remember, you'll keep your feet on the ground. Ground is somewhere you
Right.
got to stay acquainted with because you're going to either keep your feet there or life's going to knock you back down to it. So you might as well just stay on the ground and
Right.
relax yourself and let God do what he's going to do. And don't get the big head. Chill, stay humble, stay relatable, stay before God. That's the way I live my life. That's the way I was taught to live it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And then I think it's easier for people to follow a leader that's humble. When like I
Right.
see leaders get arrogant and too much for the people and all that, you got all of these bodyguards around you, or your members can't even touch you or talk to you. I just, I don't relate to it. It's foreign to me.
But that's excellent because I know with you and Lady Lisa going around the world working together as partners in ministry. I see a lot of people who are intentional about connecting themselves to you, and some are genuine and have your heart. And then there are some that are connecting because they want the platform.
Correct.
And to be honest, we connect with you because they want to be able to use your name.
Correct.
They want to be able to use your likeness.
Correct.
A photo with you can be used in manners that you don't even know. When it comes to spiritual sons and daughters,
Hmm.
in your opinion, and some may differ from your opinion, but I want to hear your opinion.
Mhm.
Do you feel that the sons and daughters seek the father, or does the father seek the sons and daughters? How are those relationships genuinely established for the kingdom?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question, and this is my opinion, right? I have a problem. I have a real serious problem with older senior leaders that campaign for sons and daughters. Um, because I believe that God will turn the hearts of the sons and the daughters to a place where they will see the fathers, and the sons and the daughters will know the fathers. God simultaneously will give the fathers a heart to receive the sons and the daughters. But I don't think fathers should go out campaigning for sons and daughters. Um, I think you should allow enough access that the sons and the daughters can recognize who you are in their lives. For instance, God tells Elijah, he says, "Go down such and such. There's a young man down there, and I want you to put this mantle on him." Elijah goes down, he puts that mantle on him. Elisha shakes himself, says, "Wow, I ain't never experienced nothing like this. I gotta follow you." Elijah gives him the sun test. And he almost acts like, uh-uh, I don't want you. Stay here. Don't follow me. Leave me alone. Now, he already knows that God told him this boy is connected to you. But he acts like he doesn't want him because the first test of sonship is attachment. Sons stay attached. Sons and daughters stay attached. Even when the personality of the father may seem to be disagreeable. In other words, as a father, for those that are genuinely my sons and daughters, as a father, I don't have to be politically correct. You know my heart, and you know that God has assigned you to me and me to you, but that's your call to make. What I see today is I see a lot of senior pastors and leaders who are saying they're campaigning for sons, and it's almost like they're trying to subsidize a low self-esteem with you know a cupboard full of sons and daughters, and they're thirsting for esteem and honor, when the reality is the relationship is supposed to work like this. Elisha has to know that he's supposed to follow Elijah, and as Elisha follows Elijah, Elijah has to intentionally expose Elisha to the experiences he will need for his future. So the role of the son or the daughter is to pay attention. The role of the father is to give access to pay attention, because the lessons are not taught as much as they are caught. And so by the time Elijah is taken up and Elisha, that mantle drops down on Elisha, Elisha has a mantle with no instruction manual, but he had a recollection of what Elijah did with that mantle. He takes that same mantle, he strikes that water, he says, "Where's the Lord God of Elijah?" Well, where did he learn that? He learned that by walking with his spiritual father. And that was one of the things. See, my father would never have like a lesson. We wouldn't sit down in a classroom or in the office and he would teach. No, no, none of that. He would just say, "Follow me and pay attention. Follow me." That's how my brother and I learned. Follow me and pay attention. And it was the lessons that I caught that steer my life today as a 61-year-old man and as a leader, because I had a true spiritual father, not just a hireling that just wanted somebody hanging around to bring seed, like all of this, the sons bringing all of there's nothing wrong with sowing into your spiritual parents, but a lot of this stuff is just not, it's not right. It's not right.
Right.
A lot of it is
Right.
not.
And then they breed a bunch of brokenness in the
Yeah,
people because they see it's not right and they get disappointed because the message that they thought they were going to get, they're not getting it.
correct.
So that brings me to ask you, do you think that it is important every time you engage the sons and daughters to seize the moment? Because you never know if you get that moment again. How important is that to you every time you are with your sons and daughters?
Well, sometimes the distraction of responsibilities, um, sometimes that sabotages those moments. But you are correct. Those moments should be seized, because you don't know when your last moment with them
Right,
will be. You don't know when that chariot coming to pull you up out of here.
right,
And but in my humanity, the distraction of responsibilities, the limitations of physical strength at times causes me to haste and sometimes take for granted, "Oh, I have another opportunity." But I'm learning to not view it like that, to view it as though this is my last opportunity to give you some final instruction, because it may very well be.
mhm,
It may very well be.
right. And that's what happens when you say the senior fathers are going out seeking the sons and daughters. If you don't have the opportunity to seize the moment and make an impact, then it makes no sense to have a bunch of people under you if you're not making a difference.
Correct. Correct. And the greatest thing a spiritual father can do is to pour authentically, transparently. That's the greatest thing a spiritual father can do. The greatest thing a spiritual son or daughter can do is to pay attention and to be receptive and to drain the ambition off. Stop looking at fathers have stopped looking at sons and daughters as love offerings,
Mhm.
and sons and daughters have stopped looking at fathers as stepping stones to ambition. And we have to understand the divine nature of the arrangement. God intends that whatever I have in my heart, that I pour it into those coming behind me. While I'm pouring what I have of myself into them, they're lending their strength to whatever vision that is yet before me. So they're giving me their strength, I'm giving them my wisdom. If it works properly, they push me to where I need to finish, and I advance them beyond my ceiling becomes their floor.
Right.
So if the relationship works right, you don't start at ground level. Your floor my ceiling becomes your floor, right? That's
Right.
that's where my brother and I we started on our father's ceiling. That's our floor. So if we don't go higher, we really some bums. You know what I'm saying? It's horrible, 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 horrible.
Well, y'all are doing a great job. And I noticed that I see a lot of these young pastors, and they don't realize that the mantle requires maturation. You have to mature. You have to be willing to accept the good and the bad from the chosen father. And a lot of them, they want to call someone their father, but the moment it comes time for the rebuke, they're
Correct,
pouting and screaming. So
correct,
even a pastor such as yourself, who are you accountable to? Because all pastors need a pastor,
absolutely.
and that's what they
Um,
need to know.
well, when my father died, I was like 48, 49, something like that. And so my initial thought was, I don't need no more. I don't need no more fathers. I'm good. I don't need no fathers. And then after a while, the wisdom of God kicked in beyond the grief and beyond the
Mhm.
emotion. And the wisdom of God says, well, you don't want to be over a bunch of people and under no one, right? Yeah, you almost 50 years old at this point, but you ain't so old that you too old to be under somebody. And so I prayed about it, and I knew once I thought about it, I knew Bishop Martin was my pastor because Bishop Martin has had a love for me since I was a very young preacher. Just always had a love for me. He would have me preaching that Greater St. Stephen. I didn't even know what I was doing. He had me preach. He just always had a love for me. I always called him Uncle Paul. So I knew who my pastor was. And then God put some older guys, 10, 12, 15 years older than me, mentors in my life, guys who were much more accomplished. And so at one point I had about three mentors and I had my pastor. Um, now I have two mentors and my pastor. And so I say all the time, everywhere I go, if I ever go off the rails, of course I'm accountable to my brother as well as he's accountable to me. But if I ever go off the rails, yeah, Bishop Martin is my pastor. If he called and said Sunday, if he called and said, tell Bishop Blakes don't touch a microphone today until I talk to him. I'm not going to touch a microphone until I talk to him. Now I may not like it, but I'm submitted to that. I would not trust a leader. I would not put myself under a leader that was submitted to no one. Like if I were a woman, I would never submit myself to a man that's not submitted to another man. I would submit to that. I may think he wrong. I may think he right. There are a lot of things my dad did in terms of rebuking and chastising me. I didn't think he was right. I thought he was jumping the gun on some stuff, but I always submitted to it. And I will always submit to those that are in authority over my life. And that's a principle that I live by because I see
And
what
that's what
happens.
a lot of them.
Yeah, I see what happens when people do not have authority over their lives. You can run amok. You got to have
Right.
somebody who sees your blind spots and who don't care nothing about who you are, what you got. They don't need none of your little stuff. They don't care nothing about that. They gonna tell you straight up. And one thing I know, Bishop Paul Martin don't care who you are. He gonna tell you straight up. No, 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 no. You. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. No, no. Get yourself together. You ain't praying. That's the heart of a pastor. And so I do have a
Right.
pastor that I'm accountable to. So if I go wild Sunday, y'all trying to figure out what to do, call Bishop Martin.
No, you just keep us laughing when you're preaching and teaching because you love to joke. And just one last thing before we end it, and I thank for all this great information you have given. And a lot of people may not know it. Present in the moment when God was shifting to how we were going to do church. And I remember in 2019, before we even knew of a COVID, before we knew that
It
our
is.
worlds were going to be shifting, you came and you said, God said that I need to build a cyber church and I need to
Correct.
invest in it and I need to do this. And you were really, really pouring into building that. And little did we know, months later, I don't even think it was 2 years. It had to be like the next year or so.
Correct.
That
It
was
was the
all
next year.
that we had. So, what would you speak to pastors who are still trying to develop where they need to be in this cyber world? Because there are some that are afraid of it and
Hmm.
some who've never embraced it. Because God spoke it to you and you had to listen to the voice of God, even when it didn't make sense to you. What would you say to pastors as to how to build themselves now in this type of digital world where we are?
Well, I'll say this as well. You and I had those conversations and just kind of stuck in the tradition of doing church. I still did not fully obey God in terms of everything I should have done. If I had done everything that you and I had talked about, oh my goodness. Like just now as a ministry, we're just now getting the technology in place that people are going to hear about as we continue to roll it out, the apps and all of that, where our members from all over the nation can tune into New Home by way of the apps. They can give by way of the apps, creating communities where they can have their own Facebook communities, New Home ministries all over. You know, I would say to guys and ladies that are struggling with it, um, you can forget about church going back to just buildings. You can forget about that. Now the buildings are going to fill up again and all of that, but you're also going to have pandemics. You're going to have other things that's going to prevent us from gathering. And it doesn't matter how many people you have in a building, you're going to always have 3 or 4 times that many people in the cyber community that want to support and benefit from the word that you teach. Now, you can fuss about, oh, forsake not the assembling of ourselves together. And I agree with all of that. But the reality is that some of them are going to forsake the assembly of themselves together. And you have to make the decision. Do you want people to participate in your ministry digitally? Or if they're not going to participate physically, do you want them to not participate at all? Or do you want to make an impact in people's lives from the physical gathering of the church and from the digital space? Because from the digital space, you're going to touch. multiplied, thousands more than you ever would accommodate in a building. And so to make that shift and to be a minister or a teacher that can work digitally, you're gonna have to lose the traditional preacher tone. It's not gonna be no hooping and hollering. You're gonna have to become comfortable with conversational speech. Um, Practice looking in a camera, practice communicating, practice having just a conversation with the camera and articulating yourself. It requires growth. I know we love the B3 organ. We love in the black culture. We love the hooping and the hollering. I grew up with all of that. I love all of that. But you can't get on Facebook and do that from your office. You just can't do it. You got to be able to take a life principle and teach it in a way that people can get it and understand it. If people can't take notes from what you're doing, you got work to do. If you hollering so much that people don't know what you just said, you have work to do. Now that may work in the culture of your physical gathering, but if you want to be successful in the digital space, some folk I see that broadcast their services, your mic system is horrible. We don't know nothing you saying. You will never get traction with that. Others of you jumping around and hollering and screaming so much that it's irrelevant. This is why you can't get traction. You have to reinvent yourself and just look at the people that you think are doing it the best and figure out who you are in that context and then fit yourself in there and then do the work to grow. We all know how to go to church and create an emotional environment, but can you sit, if the world is shut down tomorrow, can you sit in front of a camera and run your ministry? Because we were out of church for 2 years during the
Yes.
pandemic. But because my brother and I were astute at sitting in front of the camera, we didn't have to lay off any employees. None of the bills of the church went lacking. The people sat at home and they tuned in. We have around an $80,000 a month payroll. At one point, it was closer to 90. That payroll never lapsed because somebody was able to sit in front of a camera and communicate like I'm talking right now and bless the people. Get your young people involved. Your young people can take phones and create an excellence in your digital presentation like nothing you will ever see. Elder said, the guy that runs all of our media stuff, he started all this stuff on phones. Phones. We were running everything with iPhones. So it's just a matter of having a want to and understanding that there's a need to, and stop praying a pointless prayer. Lord, bring back the church to the good old. It ain't going back to the good old days. You're going to always have a digital church. Now, the question is, are they going to participate in yours or mine? Now, if you don't want your members, send them on over here. We'll oblige them right over here. And somebody else up the road, if we don't want them, they're going to take them. So you got to make up your mind that you're not going to allow this part of this current age to escape your vision and just grow. Just grow. Doesn't matter what your age is, just realize the need and grow. That's all I say to pastors and preachers, grow.
Right. Grow into who God says you are
Absolutely.
and get
Now
the
look at
right
you.
people.
Look at you with your Rode mic and all of that. Your lighting right and all this kind of thing here. My lighting bad and everything because you got old fancy platform I ain't used to. So I thought I could just pop on here. No, wasn't no popping on. But
No.
you grew.
You have to thank Elder Said. Elder Said is the one that put me on all of this. So
Amen.
he has been working with me and he is awesome to work with. And also have to give shout out CJ as well in the ministry. They have been such a blessing to help to make sure that we operate in excellence. So we have a great team at New Home, and I'm grateful for the connections that we have. So This has been an amazing, amazing time with you, Bishop. But before we leave, do you have anything that you're working on now that you want to share with the people that they can be looking forward? Because I know you do so many things.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's priority. But one thing I am feeling led to do is I'm going to relaunch what we call the Mordecai Mission. That was where I would spend so many weeks mentoring and really coaching women in the area of self-identity and healing from past traumas and all of that. I'm going to relaunch that. I think I'm going to relaunch that sometime this year. And they can also be looking out because I'm revisiting the concept of swim, where we call women from around the nation to come and into the city of New Orleans and to be poured into. So the Lord is putting those two things at the front of my mind, along with all other stuff we do, the travel. Those that may want to travel with us, they can go to my website, rcblakes.com, and they can look at where we're going this year, and you're welcome to come. I got some books I need to write, which I haven't gotten in my mind right yet to sit down and do that. But I have some books that I need to write, some new books. I haven't written a new book in about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. And so yeah, that's pretty much where my head is right now.
Okay, well, great. And we are looking forward to all that you will put out, and we know it's going to be a blessing to the masses. So I just want to thank you so much for being on here. So now you don't have to talk about me anymore.
I'm gonna still talk
I thank
about you.
God. Oh,
Tell
I know
everybody
you are.
I was the 100th guest.
No, that's not true. It was a time that we had to get together, and we've overcome some challenges, but the message was powerful, and I thank God for you. And I just want to leave a lasting word with the people. When you look at ministry and being a pastor and a servant leader, the key thing that we've learned tonight is you have to be authentic. You
Gotcha.
have to be who God says that you are. You get your speaking voice. You seek God for where He desires you to be in the kingdom, and you work what God has given you.
Correct.
Remove jealousy, remove envy. It is okay to glean from someone, but be uniquely who you are and be the best you can be. So we thank Bishop R.C. Blakes Jr. for being on the podcast. I am Tansha Ward. This is By His Grace Podcast. You can continue to follow me for more content such as this on YouTube and Facebook. I look forward to seeing you here. You have a blessed night. Thank you again, Bishop. And I can't wait to see all that God has in store for us.
I love you. I gotta go. I'm going to dinner.
I love you too. Don't tell Lady Lisa it wasn't me.
Oh, it was you. It was you. It was you.
Oh, no, she gonna see it was you and your answers. Y'all have a great night. I love you both of you, and I'll see you soon.
Love you, baby. Bye bye.
Talk to you later. Bye bye. Love you too. Bye.